guys. My name's Tanaya Macheel. I cover crypto for CNBC, and I'm here with Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. It's been, I think we said October 2024 was the last time we chatted.
Last time we chatted publicly in front of an audience where I acknowledged that Citibank had been the one that debanked me.
Oh my gosh, I was going to set you up for that. Well, and they're out with some fun crypto news this morning, right?
Citi?
Citi.
I might have missed this.
Says they're going to custody crypto.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I was going to say something mean about Citi, but no. we compete with Citi sort of indirectly. I mean, Citi's if not the largest, the second largest correspondent bank on the SWIFT network, and has a very vested interest in seeing the current status quo persist. They make about $5 billion of gross margin dollars on their correspondent banking business.
Well, where I was going with my opener.
I've already gotten you off track.
No, a lot has happened since October 2024. It's a completely different space, and it's a good thing. But we are in this bear market, and I want to start broadly there. We've seen a bear market before, but this time it just feels like crypto, as an industry, got everything it asked for. It's got the institutions on its side. It's got the embrace from Washington. You were such a big donor to that cause in 2024.
Yeah.
Was that money well spent for you?
Look, I think people have to, if you think about why did Ripple and why did some of our friends and kind of frenemies engage in, particularly the outlet of that was Fairshake, one of the largest super PACs. And you have to remember that like the government attacked the industry and almost went out of their way not to create rules, engaged in kind of just regulation through enforcement, as opposed to taking the time to actually, let's try to codify, let's try to create clear rules. And so the industry reacted by saying, we want to we want to educate the electorate about, hey, we want innovation in the United States. We want this industry to thrive in the United States. We want consumer protections. Let's make sure that we're electing people who aren't, frankly, Elizabeth Warren makes shit up. She says stuff about crypto. It's just not true. It's provably not true. And so providing a counterbalance to that, I think, is, of course, that's going to happen from the industry. It's an industry I think people care about, and it's transforming, has the opportunity to transform how financial transactions are managed and make them much more efficient.
Well, I didn't think I was going to ask you about clarity this early, but given where we are with that and the pressure to get this moved forward within 7 weeks, I guess given the way the industry was so hampered from the previous administration, what are your thoughts on clarity as it stands now, and to what extent, does its passage matter, and to whom and why, given that the crypto industry has always faced that kind of regulatory headwind and has persisted and innovated regardless?
Well, I'll go back. I mean, some of the earlier panelists have talked about, the idea that crypto was anti-regulation is the exact opposite. That is one of the mistruths. It's not the Wild West. In fact, we have sought out regulation. Ripple has 75 licenses around the world. The other thing I will say about the Clarity Act, Ripple's in a somewhat unique position because, unfortunately, we had to fight a 4-year battle with the United States government and the SEC. We had a federal judge write the sentence that XRP in and of itself is not a security. That is clarity for XRP. However, Ripple's view is, in order for the industry to succeed in the United States, we need clarity for the whole industry. We need that broadly, and so we have leaned in aggressively to support the Clarity Act. Like, there's smarter people than me that have been on stage earlier today to talk about likelihood of passage. I was in here when Tim Scott was presenting. I was in here when Patrick Witt was presenting. They're optimistic, so I'll be optimistic. I will say, partly maybe to stir things up a little bit, I find it interesting that one of the potential roadblocks is around ethics. Now, on one hand, we have to realize that there is nothing now, and so if the Dems are focused on how do we make sure that Trump and team are held accountable, it's like, well, this is a step towards that. On the other hand, my honest view is like the Clarity Act, ethics is a bigger issue for Congress to address from a stock trading. It's not just crypto. It's more, I think that should there be an ethics act? Should there be, the same as a Clarity Act? Sure. But I worry, and even to some of my allies and competitors in the industry, I really do think we have to not let perfection be the enemy of good. And the bill that was moving with a lot of momentum in January was, I think, good. It's not materially different now. I'm hopeful that we'll get it across the finish line.
Crypto as an industry is going through this transformation. We have seen this before. The themes around stablecoins and tokenization and institutions really at the center of everything, it feels like. What do you make of it? Because it seems like we have all of these companies who, were created at a time when we focused on crypto as an asset class. In your case, it would be XRP. And now we're focused more on crypto, the technology of it all, and becoming the infrastructure and the distribution platform for more mainstream financial services. What do you make of that shift? I think it's interesting because I don't want to flatter you too much, but it seems like Ripple has kind of been doing that all along. And also, you've been in the industry for a long time, so I think culturally, what does that mean to you, that shift?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts on this. One, thank you. Ripple, somewhat controversially, has always been focused on the kind of bridge between traditional finance and decentralized finance. And early on, that was viewed as a negative. Now I think people come around to, no, that's actually a really good place to be.
That was viewed as a negative to whom?
To the crypto industry, to the purists, to the, everything has to be decentralized, which is in some ways you could say is a very laudable outcome. But it's also, we do live in a world of laws and regulation, and traditional financial infrastructure does matter at some point, unless the entire world's moving on chain, which I think would take longer than I'll be alive. And so we've always thought that bridge between traditional finance and decentralized finance is important. So I think you're seeing, even in this crypto winter, more companies recognize that if your business is tied to retail trading and the price of the asset goes down by 50%, well, your revenue just went down by 50%. So, I think you're seeing companies in this bear market struggle. You're seeing layoffs. You're seeing some exchanges actually shut down. Look, Ripple's going to have a record year. We'll more than double revenue year on year. I would rather do that with a tailwind for the crypto industry as a whole, and I think that we would even have a better year. But I think more and more people are realizing that the infrastructure side, the institutional side is where it's at. I'll actually give Kraken a shout out in that Kraken's revenue, they're not public, but they disclose certain things. I believe what I read in the media, right? But they disclosed that they actually were up. They had grown revenue despite the headwinds of the overall market. And I think it's because they have diversified beyond just kind of the retail piece.
They're not public, but there have been headlines back and forth about them being rumored to have plans potentially. Do you have plans to go public? You're a CNBC Disruptor 50 this year. What's next?
We have been very happily private for a long time. Last year we did $2.5 billion of acquisitions despite being private. We also, over the last 2 years, have done $3 billion of tender offers to provide liquidity to our shareholders. That being said, my macro view here is that there's going to continue to be more larger, consequential acquisitions in our space. There's going to be consolidation, partly because of what we're describing, the crypto winter we're living through. In the 5 crypto winters I've lived through, you've seen that happen. There's been consolidation. And so, I'd say we are more neutral on the topic than maybe we used to be. And so, we'll see how it plays out. If you looked at what BitGo went public in January, Securitize went public in July, those have been not particularly well received by the public markets, which is a deterrent. On the other hand, I think Circle actually, they've been public for a year and has actually done pretty well.
Can you talk a little bit more about the acquisitions, just as we are watching this shift in crypto companies and watching them broaden their financial stack and their tech stack? How is that helping you guys grow?
Yeah.
And your offerings grow?
Well, there's two big acquisitions we did last year. One was a company called Hidden Road.
And how is that helping modernize financial infrastructure?
Well, both very materially. So we bought a company called Hidden Road, a non-bank prime broker that was clearing last year they cleared $3 trillion of transactions. We also bought a company called GTreasury, which is one of the leading treasury management software kind of infrastructure for CFOs, treasurers that have currencies around the world and they need a full picture. Kind of think of it as a CFO dashboard. What we see and they touched $13 trillion of transactions last year. So now by extension, now it's Ripple Treasury and Ripple Prime. So last year, we touched $16 trillion of transactions. About 0.1% of those were, quote, on-chain, meaning they either through a stablecoin, through XRP, through some other on-chain settlement. Our goal is obviously to continue to grow that 16 trillion. Both of those assets are having record years, and those are continuing to grow. So 16 trillion this year will be a bigger number. And it's to move that 0.1% to a larger number. If we move it from, each 0.1% is $160 billion. And when you think about if Ripple, by touching those, that's $16 trillion of transactions, that's Visa size. As we move some of that on-chain to benefit from the efficiency, both by speed, cost, and certainty, that's good for customers. Also, as a small anecdote on this, look, Ripple's been doing this for a long time, and I've done many sales pitches. Only in the last, I would say, 6 months now, I'm sitting, at events or what have you, and now we have CFOs and treasurers asking us, hey, my CEO is asking me about stablecoins. We have liquidity all over the world, and we have dormant liquidity not earning yield. How can you help us maximize that? How can we unlock some of that trapped capital? So I think there is a sea change happening because you're seeing real utility. And the industry, I've been saying this for a long time, and certainly I'm sure I did when we were on stage a couple years ago. You have to have utility. If it's just speculation or meme coins, that's not sustainable.
So there are two things in every conversation I've had at this event, which mostly just started today. Two things that get mentioned again and again, and it's the institutions, but also AI. So how does that fit into your business right now? The headlines that I'm seeing over the last couple of months, it feels like it's always, AI is driving layoffs, and also AI is driving agentic trading and AI, driven financial services broadly. So What are you guys doing with this?
I'll also stir it up a little bit on this one. I have a somewhat contrarian view on some of this. Ripple has adopted AI, aggressively. I think if you are in a growing business, a growing category, and taking share, AI is an enabler and an accelerant. When I see companies announce big layoffs and they say, oh, well, AI, X, Y, and Z, that to me says, well, they were bloated before and they're using this as an excuse. I'll give you one. This is going to get me in trouble. But look, remember when Elon Musk bought Twitter? He laid off. He went from like 6,000 to 2,000. Who had been running that before? Oh, Jack Dorsey. Remember Jack Dorsey announced a 50% layoff around Block because of AI. I sell them a pattern. It's not because of AI, it's because it was bloated. AI, if you are in a business that has opportunity to grow and you're serving customers and have compelling solutions, AI just lets you do that better and faster and stronger. Ripple has 150 open positions right now. We have grown, we're 1,500 people around the world, and we're going to continue to grow because our business is growing quickly, and AI just helps us grow into that. Now, the other thing I would say, which is a little bit controversial to crypto and AI specifically, the last panel talked about this a little bit at the end. A lot of the excitement about agentic payments, I think, is premature. And it touches on I've played with some of the agentic payments, and I'm happy to connect $20 or $200 to kind of experiment. But you tell me when a corporate treasurer is going to allow an agent to tap into their corporate checking account, their main account, and allow agentic access. Because it is, in the last panel talked about this, accountability still lives with the human.
Right.
And that's scary to really, I think there's going to have to be a lot of guardrails. And look, please don't interpret me as saying I don't believe in agentic payments. I just think that the excitement is ahead of the reality right now, and I think it's going to take a while.
All right, we have to end it there, but thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you very much.